Okay, we're back. First, any questions, comments, or observations on the 4 basic concepts we covered so far? 4 basic concepts being, of course, who do you listen to? The teachability index, the training balance scale, and the 4 steps that you go through when learning information. Yes? Okay, good question. The question was, how do you get to unconscious competence? How do you get to that level? The answer is actually very simple. All of you start at the bottom, and when you're learning information, you get to conscious competence. That's when you know the information, but you have to consciously apply that information. You have to think about it. So you have to think about applying it. The only way you can get to unconscious competence is by utilizing one of 2 methods. Number 1, by doing it over and over and over at the conscious competence level. The example is tying the shoelace. How did you get to unconscious competence when tying the shoelace? How did you get to unconscious competence by knowing your way from work to home? The answer is by doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again at the conscious competence level. You do it over and over and over again, and all of a sudden you become unconsciously competent. The question is, how actually? What's the mechanism in which to get to unconscious competence? Another way of calling unconscious competence is the knowledge bank, knowingness. It's where it's completely internalized. It's part of you. You don't have to think about it anymore. When you actually do something over and over and over and over again, you're actually creating neural pathways in the brain. These are biological connections between cells, dendrites, that connect and actually grow in size. And these neural pathways are energy channels where information or energy is transmitted through the brain. They're actual patterns that develop in the brain. So by getting to the unconscious competence level, you do that by doing it over and over and over and over again, creating that neural pathway. There is a second method. It's very interesting. And the second method is by observing someone else do it. So one of the advantages of having a mentor, one of the advantages of being an apprentice, is you get to observe someone else. This is the reason why associating with people who have what you want, and this is one of the major benefits of the societies, like the Brotherhood. Not only did we get the knowledge, but we got to observe people using the knowledge. And by that observation, monkey see, monkey do, that's exactly what I'm talking about. This is a major advantage. If you're learning from somebody who's doing it wrong, you're going to do it wrong as well. That's why if you want to be a great chef and you happen to be the apprentice of a spectacular chef, there's a good chance you're going to become a spectacular chef. If you want to be a spectacular musician and you get to work with and be an apprentice of a spectacular musician, then you get that advantage. You will become a spectacular musician. If you want to be a spectacular tennis player or golfer or basketball player, when you start associating with people who are brilliant in those professions, you get to see what they do, see how they act, and you turn around and get that as well. Success does breed success. It does rub off. Having a mentor, associating with people that have what you want, and in this case, utilizing this information, being able to witness them, watch them, observe them, does create neural pathways in the brain as well. Which is more important or which is better? Both are important. But I would suggest to you that unless you are observing on a regular basis, unless you are listening to, watching, mimicking, and modeling your behavior after those people that are actually doing this stuff, your level of proficiency, your level of success is not going to be as good. You actually may become unconsciously competent in doing it wrong because you do it the same way all the time. So learning this information from those who have achieved and use it professionally and perfectly and to a very high level is something that you have to do. It isn't a one-time thing, it's an ongoing process. So the way you get to unconscious competence is by observing those people who are doing it. Now, from a practical standpoint, how are you going to do this? Because when you guys leave here, you're not going to have that physical mentor. But guess what? We didn't have physical mentors that we were around every single day either. But we were around them once in a while, and when we were around them, we took full advantage of that situation and observed and then kept that picture in our mind, kept that meeting in our mind, and then mimicked thereafter. So what do? Well, you're going to have some advantages that other folks won't have. First, you're going to have a plethora of CD material being made available to you. And again, this information is not coming from me, the guru. I just happen to be the selected teacher and messenger of this information. The information is information that I learned from my association and involvement with the Brotherhood. I reached the highest level in that organization, as well as the other people that you've met, the members of the Freemasons, 33-degree members that have not officially left, but are sharing the information and releasing it to us, the Illuminati, Skull and Bones, and many of the other folks from the other societies as well. So we are a group of people that learned this information from the various societies we were a part of, many of whom were members of the elite class, have this information, have the physical evidence that it works in our life, and again, you're sitting here so you can see it. And we are gathering this information together and presenting it to you in what we believe to be a very easy to digest format so that you can apply it and see speedy, spectacular results. Now, we've done this outside of this group over the last few years to some individuals, kind of tested it out, and the results have been nothing more than spectacular, where people have said to us that learning this information and applying it has just been mind-blowing at the speed in which their dreams and desires are coming into physical reality. So whatever you want in life, you can have. The key is getting to that unconscious competence level. So again, in answer to your question, it's by doing it over and over again at the conscious competent level, which goes back to, that's why everything here is in an order of teaching. That's why you must have a high willingness to learn and a high willingness to accept change. You have to be high on the teachability index. And I can tell you, I've met people all over the years. In the majority of people, if someone said, what is the number one reason that people just don't succeed? Is it lack of knowledge? And the answer is actually no. The answer is it's low teachability index. Actually, if you go back and say, what are the causes of people failing? Number one, they're not listening to the right people, which is why, who do you listen to? So they're listening to the wrong people. If you want to be a great chef and you're listening to a guy who's a short order cook, who's never made a souffle in his life, guess what? You're never going to learn how to make a souffle. If you want to be a world-class chef and eat spectacular food or learn how to cook spectacular food, and you're learning from a guy who fries eggs, and nothing wrong with frying eggs, but you're not learning how to create spectacular cuisine because you're learning from somebody who doesn't know how to create spectacular cuisine. If you want to be a great piano player and you're listening to somebody who's, maybe a very good honky-tonk piano player, but certainly not a concert pianist, you're never going to be a spectacular pianist. You're never going to be a great musician because you're not learning from the best. Same thing here. If you want to create things in your life, if you want to have happiness, you need to learn from the best. So the first reason people fail is they don't learn from the right people, which means they're not getting the right information. But if you find the right people, you do get the right information. And somebody would say, well, up until now, this information has been secret. That's absolutely true. However, there's enough information out there from the right people that if you utilize it, yeah, all the stuff is not been released. But a lot of this stuff is available. I think the key elements have never been available, but some of the information has been available and enough has been available where you can apply it and reach spectacular results. But the first problem that people fail is they don't have the right teachers. They're not learning from the right people. They're not listening to the right people, which means they're getting the wrong information. The second reason people fail is they have a low teachability index. They just refuse to be willing to give up things, to be obsessed with learning. They have a low willingness to learn. And even if they do have a high willingness to learn, they have a low willingness to accept change. They keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. They just refuse to change their patterns. And again, those patterns are neuro pathways, which is why willingness to accept change, you have to understand the reason why you may have a hard time willing to change. The reason it may be hard for you to be really willing to change is because you've done the same thing for so long. You've established very, very, very strong, embedded, ingrained, large neural pathways. New neural pathways have to be developed, which creates new patterns. So low teachability index is a major thing. The next reason people fail is they spend too much time on the how. Remember the training balance scale? They spend too much time on the technique or the skill, thinking that that's the key. Too many excuses such as, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to raise the money for that business. I don't know how in the world I could have enough money to pay off all my bills. I don't have any idea how in the world I could be able to take a 1-month holiday to Europe, if that's what your desire is. They think of their desire, and then what they do is they come up with all the reasons why it won't happen in their life, because they don't know the technique, they don't know the how, they don't know where the money's coming from, and they're stuck on that side of the training balance scale. That's a key. And then the fourth reason people fail is they don't spend enough time at the conscious competence level to develop new neural pathways so that they get to the unconscious competence level, where new patterns have been established, new habits,